Have you ever pulled into a rest stop late at night, only to realize you weren't alone and the person watching you had no reason to be there? I'd been driving trucks for a few months when it happened. The kind of night that makes you rethink every late shift you've ever taken. It was past 2 a.m., and I was pushing through a long haul in Oklahoma. The highway was nearly empty, just the occasional set of headlights flickering by. My eyelids felt heavy, so when I saw a dimly lit rest stop sign ahead, I figured it was a good place to stretch my legs. The rest stop sat down a short, winding road, completely surrounded by thick trees. The single flickering streetlight made the whole place look like it had been forgotten for years. There were only two other vehicles there, a beat-up pickup and a rusted RV that looked abandoned. I parked, killed the engine, and grabbed my thermos, thinking a quick bathroom break would keep me alert for the next few hours. As I stepped out, I noticed movement near the edge of the lot. A man stood just beyond the light's reach, partially hidden in the trees. He wasn't doing anything, just standing there, facing my direction. I couldn't see his face, but the way his head tilted ever so slightly made my skin crawl. I told myself I was being paranoid and walked toward the restroom. Inside, the buzzing of a dying fluorescent bulb echoed against the tiled walls. I hurried, washed my hands, and stepped back into the night air. The man was gone. I scanned the lot. Nothing. Feeling uneasy, I made my way to the truck. That's when I saw him again. He was now standing beside the rusted RV, staring at me from across the lot. Only this time, he had stepped into the light. His clothes were soaked, clinging to his thin frame, and his eyes, they were locked on me, unblinking. I climbed into the cab and locked the doors. I tried to shake it off and started the engine, but before I could shift into gear, a loud tapping rattled the passenger window. He was there, inches from the glass, grinning with teeth that looked too sharp in the dim light. He didn't speak, just slowly dragged his hand across the window like he was testing the thickness. I slammed the horn, and the sound seemed to snap him out of whatever trance he was in. Without a word, he backed away, then turned and walked, not toward a vehicle, but straight into the woods behind the lot, swallowed by the darkness. I didn't wait to see if he came back. I floored it out of there and didn't stop until daylight. To this day, I still wonder, was he watching me by chance, or had he been waiting for someone exactly like me to pull in? What would you do if a semi-truck tried to run you off a deserted highway and there was no one around to help? It was late November, and I was driving home after visiting a friend a few towns over. The weather was cold, the kind that makes the air feel heavy, and the highway was unusually empty for that time of night. The only lights were my headlights and the occasional flicker of a neon gas station sign in the distance. About 20 minutes into the drive, I noticed a semi-truck up ahead in the right lane. It was moving just under the speed limit, so I stayed behind it for a while. There wasn't anything strange at first. It kept a steady pace, no swerving, no brake checks, But then, without warning, it drifted into the left lane for several seconds before jerking back like the driver had just woken up. I figured maybe they were tired, so I backed off to give them plenty of space. But a few minutes later, it happened again and again. Each time, the truck would linger on the line, almost daring another vehicle to pass. The strange part was, there was no one else around, just me and that massive rig in the middle of a long, dark stretch of road. Finally, I decided to pass. I signaled, eased into the left lane, and started to speed up. But as soon as I pulled alongside the trailer, the truck's headlights flared brighter, high beams flooding my car. Then came the blare of the horn, deep and angry, echoing in the empty night. The truck surged forward, matching my speed no matter how much I pressed the gas. My heart was pounding. I knew I couldn't slow down. If I stayed beside him, he could push me right into the median. So I floored it, the engine whining as my car finally crept ahead. But just as I pulled past the cab, the truck lurched toward my lane, tires crossing the line so close I could see the rivets in the metal panels. I swerved hard, riding the rumble strips until I cleared him, then darted back into the right lane. In my mirror, his headlights were blinding, gaining on me fast. He stayed right on my bumper for miles, refusing to back off, until distant taillights from other cars finally appeared ahead. The moment there was more traffic, the semi backed away, merging smoothly into the right lane like nothing had happened. I kept driving, hands locked on the wheel, too afraid to even glance in my mirrors again. I don't know if he was trying to scare me or if something worse was on his mind. But I do know one thing. The road feels very different when you realize you're completely alone, except for someone who clearly doesn't want you to get away.